Reuben and French dip sandwich. Yeah, we just, keep it simple, keep what we put out. Don't break your neck, just, make it good. Keep it simple. Our platform was, well, staffing isn't going to change my problem. It was a nightmare for me. And I don't think I even put my bad because we were just in the middle of the store. Yeah, but it was,
okay. Yeah, I do. That's crazy.
Having grown-ups that
I had a wonderful time. Came back with money. I didn't. I got three bills that I must have won.
Were you on the table? Were you on the table slot?
No, slots.
Stayed in your room and drank, didn't you?
No, slots, so you can drink.
Oh yeah, well that's it. That's how you pay it.
Just sit there and keep it. Yeah, there was one slot that they looked at and said, "You're at $400." I said, "Really?" My hand slipped. Inflated.
Oh yeah. Whoops.
One button away.
Oh yeah. Oh, you think they planned it that way?
Yes, sir. But anyway, yeah, I had a great time. Played at the golf course. I think it was called the Preserve. We got 18 in and then four replays plus lunch for 125.
Now I got to pay attention.
Is it time?
It's our quorum, eh?
I like to do that, so I know what time it is. We don't have a quorum.
Where are you sitting?
Right here.
Oh, where's Bob here?
Bob doesn't sit.
Oh, he's
He stands.
I'm Rick.
You are.
I'm Rick and no, he's going to be Rick and I'm
Okay, you can do that. I like that.
So,
So, I don't know what you do. You have to have a quorum present.
yeah, we
For votes, right?
yes, you do. Otherwise, you don't have a meeting. We have, what is it, Savannah? Is it if you have 14? Do you have 8? Yeah, there's 2. There's 2. Lunar will be here.
Okay.
We got it. We're good anyway. 2, 4. Yeah, we got it. We got 5, 6, 7, and Mark. Oh, she's here. We'll be all right. Oh, no, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got it. We got 9. Yeah, we got 9. You will step into the big. You can slide right in.
Step in and fill the shoes. I didn't get a chance to get the email.
Somebody get that, catch that fly.
That's your military.
Get a bar of Irish Spring.
You all right, Billy?
Oh, I'm tired. Today's a healing day. I went and saw Cheryl.
I saw you coming down the road. I met you.
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
Cap, crown.
good for you. Isn't that? That's
I already had a crown.
some crown you have. I went and saw Cheryl and she said, no, we'll give you some antibiotics. I want to be sure I was treating it. Because I got home and cleaned all that up with hydrogen peroxide and put good stuff on it. And did it again the next day, and then I got up standing where you. I was okay. Got fucking scared of that. We don't.
I did heard.
Some of these. That's okay. Probably is.
Yeah, I can't make sure I can file it.
You can if you have
I didn't see you.
Anyway,
it's probably have a million.
No, I missed her. I said, oh, 3 weeks. No, it's good. It's good.
Give me a second. Yeah, if you want, you can go. We're good.
Oh, you took my pen.
This is mine. I brought it with me.
Oh, sorry.
It's a Mont Blanc. and I want it back.
I quit bringing mine. I didn't take it with me because I was afraid somebody was.
If somebody sees it, they'll steal it.
What's that? Oh, the same color that I sold you.
Very good. Did you give that to her? I did. Give her some notes and whatnot? That's fine.
No, there's.
Public comment. Oh. But I'll make some.
Good, Savannah?
Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you to the June Cypresswood Community Association meeting. And our treasurer filling in for our secretary, filling in for our vice president, will call the roll.
Oh, okay. Club patio.
Here.
Cypress Pond.
Here.
Eagle Pond. Enclave.
Here.
Fairway patio.
Aye, sir.
You got it. Garden patio.
Here.
Golf villas.
No.
Greenfield.
Here.
Meadows.
Here.
Oak Grove.
Here.
Palmacia.
Here.
Plantations.
Here.
Sand Hill Lane.
He'll be here. He's a no yet.
Villas on the Green.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Before we go, we have Linda Goodrich like to make a statement. It's off the record, on the record. I don't know how it is. I don't know how that works.
That's okay.
That's okay. We don't have our lawyer here, so we'll just kind of wing this.
Okay.
There you go.
I would just like to make a statement. I would like to make a statement for the loss of our fellow board member, Jim Hammond. We lost him to, I guess it was a brief battle with pancreatic cancer, and 74 years old. He was young. But I would just like to take a moment and us bow our heads and just say a private prayer for Jim. In Jesus' blessed name. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, next slide, Savannah, please.
Thanks.
That's okay. I need a motion and a second to approve tonight's meeting agenda, please. Mrs. Goodrich has made a motion. Dr. Palmer is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Goodrich and Palmer.
Yeah, Terry, if you want to move on the other side, if that makes it easier, you can. If you want to move on that side, can you see the screen? You're good? Okay. You're good. Oh, sure. I also need a motion and approval or a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the May 17th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Shire has made such a motion. Mr. McCullough has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. There were no one that signed up for the residents' comments, so we'll dispense with that. We'll go right into our committee reports. Just a slight change, I guess, to the agenda that I misunderstood what the subcommittee. They're going to report quarterly at this point, not every month. So we will not do number one, but Mr.
We'll
Tucker.
do number 2.
We'll do number 2. Just hopefully not all at once right here. Later on. Yes, so Mr. Tucker, the Treasurer's Advisory Committee report, and you will also be presenting the general administrative side of the budget.
Thank you.
X marks the spot, please. Watch your step.
Okay, the ending May 31 balance sheet, you all received it, I guess last week.
I believe so.
All right. Anyway, this is the highlights of it. If you didn't, if you did, we'll repeat it for you. Operating cash at the end of the month was $126,200. Reserve cash $640,000. Other assets, which is prepaids, loan costs, and other things that you have to carry on the balance sheet at $21,000. Liabilities Most notable are the two to the banks, $886,400 for loan number 1, $979,800 for loan number 2. Down to the reserve accounts. General reserve, but do this in round numbers, round thousands, so bear with that. General reserves, $162,000. Road reserve, $291,000. Stormwater pump, $126,000. Interest accumulated, $17,300. Front entrance reserve account, $16,000. And traffic control improvement reserve, $3,500. That leaves a total of $615,500 in reserve accounts. Okay?
Income?
Income statement for through May 31. Revenues for the year have been $469,500. Expenses for the month, grounds $9,949. I get a little more precise with that because the expenses are very important to us this year, as all years. Year to date, we spent $48,500 on grounds. That is $8,000 over for the year. Drainage, $43,300 for the month. We spent $52,000 for the year, over by $23,700. Traffic, $11,300, $55,000 for the year. It's under by $3,000. General and administrative expenses, $11,500, $5,300 for the year. It's under by $10,500. And reserves are always what they are, $68,000 for reserves, $462,000 for the year. We're under by 18, but that's all timing. You get that quarterly. It moves quarterly from one area to the other. Excess of expenses over revenues, $68,000 for the month. Year to date, $7,900. That doesn't seem right. $79,000, and we are over right now, May 31, $17,600 expenses over revenues. Any questions? Okay. I have a budget to do.
You do. Next slide, please, Savannah.
Pretty simple. I'll go off this board.
Okay.
You only see two changes in the GMA budget. Utilities we predict being the same. Management fee has been increased by $300. That's pretty nominal for a CAM expense. GNA liability insurance, we're predicting a $225 increase. That's overall increase for the year, 22 over 21 by $525.
Just a quick comment.
Yes.
This one, because of Savannah's good work, will be somewhat less than that this year. We're just not quite sure of the cost incurred on that, but it will be. It'll be less both years. The website maintenance one, it will not. It won't be that much this year, but it's just a nominal number. Like $25, $50, something like that.
So we're almost flat year over year with that budget. Now all these budgets come to the board, and then they go to the Treasury Advisory Committee once they're all vetted by the board, and then we take a look at all those and reconcile.
Do you have any questions on this budget for Mr. Tucker, who's the head of the Treasurer's Advisory Committee? Okay.
So we need, as we do every year, we provisionally accept or deny these budgets on a budget by budget basis, and then the Treasury Advisory Board gets them together and gets a final assessment. That will be done each budget. Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve this as presented.
Okay, there's been a motion approved. You got a second by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Next slide, please, Savannah. Landscape Committee, Mr. Fred Wilson, come on down.
Are we gonna talk budget now? or-
No, you do your report, then we'll do the budget.
Just a quick update, as you noticed that the sign up front is getting cleaned up. It's coming along slow. The electricity is back on, so the lights are on at night. And I've spoken with the landscape group, and they're gonna be coming in with a recommendation this week as to what to put in there. And then we're gonna use landscape just to make the area look pleasing until we get to the end of the 2-year period and we decide what we're gonna do based upon the recommendation the committee has made as to what we're gonna do to the backside of that sign. And so that's the quick update on the sign, and if there's any questions on anything. Yes, sir.
Fred, I understand that we received $10,000 from the insurance company.
I didn't hear.
How much have we received from the insurance company?
So far, we've received $8,500 and some change. I'm getting ready to submit the electrical portion of it. I want to do it at the same time I do with landscape, so I'm going to wait for that. So we should be approaching the $10,000 mark for that, which is the maximum that the person's insurance would cover.
Okay, but this is going to take, the 10,000 will take care of everything?
I'm sorry?
Will the 10,000 take care of everything?
For where we are right now, yes, but it will not replace the sign because there is just too much damage is done, and when we had the company remove the back part of that, it's just amazing what we found underground on that sign. Required jackhammers to come in to get it out, to get it down deep enough just so that we could cover the ground. The foundation, some of that foundation is still there, and short of just tearing that whole area apart, there's nothing else we can do. That is one well-constructed sign 40 years ago, and it's going to be there long after we're gone, I think. But it's well done. We're going to paint the back side of it. When we had the company that took the foundation out, when they cut it, they exposed some rebar in there, and we have to go through a couple of steps of sealing that back side, and we're working on quotes to get that right now. So we're getting there. So it's coming. Thank you for your patience. Could we address what you and I talked about earlier last week or not? Is that not for?
You'll have to refresh my memory.
That's when you said that the state's attorney is going to.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, the state's attorney is going to prosecute the person that left the scene of the accident.
Well, they are prosecuting it. Yeah.
So based upon some things there may be some monies coming from that suit beyond that, which will be coming to us, which we'll put in reserve to cover the sign when it's ready to go. But we're getting there.
Okay. Nope.
I got a question about that.
Let me do it, because I'm the one with the information.
When you say money coming from that suit, do you mean from his insurance company or from the person?
Okay, so the state attorney asked if what the value of the damage was. We gave him a value for that, and they're going to make that part of his, hopefully part of his plea agreement, that he agrees to pay us restitution for the amount, which means that we're going to get like $68 a month for the rest of my life. So let's not, this isn't going to be a windfall that all of a sudden we're going to be building the golden arches or anything. This will be, if we get, and he said for something like this, don't hold your breath. And just like our attorney said a couple of months ago, we could certainly file a suit against him. However, he says it's probably going to cost you more than you're going to get out of it. So
I just want to know where that was going to come from.
There's some monies that are potential if that is part of the plea agreement, but they're not gonna send him to jail over this. Yes, sir.
Is he a resident?
His father is. I do not know that if the young man is a resident of Cypress. I don't know that. There's no, the address that he has, I believe, is a Cypresswood, so I'm assuming that's what his driver's license says. That's my assumption, but I don't know that for sure.
We don't know whether he's a property owner or not.
I doubt he's a property owner. He's a young man still living at home, to the best of my knowledge. Okay. Anything else on that subject?
I just want to ask Fred something. When you come into our subdivision across from the gate, there's all those dead, I think.
Hedge, viburnum, the viburnum.
Viburnum, yeah.
Yes.
What, is anything going to be done with that, or what happened to them?
What happened is that we did not know that we had a bad timer in the system. And when we started manifesting that, it's like, oh my goodness, what's going on? That has been fixed. The timer is back in service again. I had landscape people check the viburnum that's there. The leaves look bad. The viburnum is not dead.
It will come back.
So we're going to lose some leaves, and it's going to regreen itself. So we should be seeing that recover before I would say by the end of the year. We're in the growing season. We're getting a lot of rain, so we got good news there.
Oh, good.
I looked at it yesterday and it's budding back out.
Oh, good.
Up underneath.
I just had a couple residents ask about it, so
Yeah.
I want to report to them.
I noticed it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Wilson on the landscape? Yes, Rick?
It's really not landscaping. It's the city of Winter Haven. They planted around their water plant last year, and they don't know how to water stuff because about 3/4 of what they planted died. It looks worse now than it did before they pulled up the portocarpus and planted viburnum.
I believe the man to your left can address that with the city people, if possible.
I'm talking to the city about that, but this is the second time we went through this.
Right.
After chronically complaining, and you know, I mean, there's always two ways to approach it. Do we go from the bottom up or the top down? So initially we tried from the bottom up, and finally we got a response, and they came out there and did a pretty good job. And they, like you said, they planted all the podocarpus and everything else. Then they just let it go to seed, and so I called repeatedly again, talked to the same gentleman who's responsible for the plant operations and the conditions. And they sent a group back out there and redid it again. And I said, well, who's going to maintain it this time? He said, well, now we have a contract person maintaining it. And I'm like, okay, because when you guys were maintaining it, nothing happened. So I have to get back after them again, which I'm in the process of doing. And it's like,
They're maintaining it, but they're not watering it.
yeah,
You got a water plant.
Yeah, you can
How
see that
hard is
when
it
you
to
look at
make-
the plants for
you
crying
put
out
water
loud.
on
I mean,
your
it's a
flowers.
shame. It's a shame that it's that condition. Ultimately, the city is in the process now of trying to figure out how to eliminate that plant right there. So I would say sometime in the next few years, we may say, yeah, the place go away.
Plastic plants.
There you go. Very good, Mr. Brett. That's a good idea.
I'll pass that on.
Enclave does not have anything to do with that, and our sprinkler system does not extend that far.
No, it's not
Correct.
yours, it's theirs.
I know.
Yeah. You shouldn't be watering it anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else for his report side? Then we'll go to his budget. Next slide, please, Savannah. Do you want to go through it?
Yes. This is the recommendation from the committee for the landscape proposal for 2022. We've kept everything the same. We had one minor area go up, but we've tried to reduce as much as possible to keep our budget within our program within a maintenance mode rather than trying to add things and do things. Right now, I just think we need to stay in the area of keeping things looking nice and do the maintenance that's on that. We have for the year we're proposing it's a 0.003% increase, which is about 30 cents a household as to where we are. So we're doing everything we can to keep it looking as great as it can be. But we're not going to be adding anything unless something happens that we
we haven't foreseen. One of the things you'll notice that we changed in the budget is we reduced the tree expense for the common area, but we added it back in for the clubhouse because now we're taking care of we have a lot of trees around the clubhouse, and it's important that we keep them looking good here. So we thought we'd identify what is involved with the clubhouse versus what's involved with the common area, but the amount is the same as we did last year. There is no increase in budget there. There's no increase in price on what we do per day. And we've been looking at the irrigation meters, water meters. We're finally starting to see some things work out as to where the money's going on it. Regarding the city of Winter Haven and water meters, we've tried. We've tried for over 5 or 6 years. Even Mark has gone down and tried to get into that city area to find out what's going on with the meters, and we hear absolutely nothing. So we're just going to go. We don't know what the city's doing, but I don't where it's covered, but it's not covered in our budget, so I don't know where the money's going on that or where the bills are coming in. If there's any unique questions you might have, be glad to address them at this point.
Okay.
Same deal as the general administrative. There is a landscape committee is asking for $98,642, which is a $300 increase over last year. Mr. Brett, you make such a motion. Is there a second to that motion, Mr. Shira? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Next slide, please. Traffic control, Mr. Reese, but apparently that's going to be me. So we're going to go right to this. Is there any specific traffic control questions that I may, as a member of that committee, I can try to answer? Yes, Joe.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe. Joe, what's your question?
Being relatively new to the traffic committee,
Yes, sir.
I'm not really sure exactly, if this is a concern or not. But I don't recall ever having a meeting to go over this this budget that is being proposed.
It was emailed out to the committee, and the committee made comments.
Okay, I guess I didn't get it then.
Okay.
I don't see anything major, but I just thought we'd have a meeting or talk about it.
Yeah, it was via email, and I don't know. I received it from Rick and saw the other names on there. I didn't know if you were on there or not. I don't know.
I haven't resigned and I never received it.
Good. Well,
this is the second time now I haven't received it.
Okay, well then we need to check with Rick to make sure you're on the email thread, obviously. Mr. Howell?
Well, I was really hoping Rick was going to be here.
Do you want to hold your until his report for next month? Your comments to...
Well, there's been some incidents at the gate real recent, and one of them impacted Oak Grove. And on Tuesday, the 8th of June, I think that was the date, I walked around my house to the front yard at 7 o'clock, and there were 9 police cars parked on Tree Lane.
Okay.
So I walked over and talked to one of the police officers, or somebody that lives in Oak Grove, sideswiped a Winter police officer on Dundee Road just west of us. Well, and then took off, came in the subdivision. So, of course, cops come swarming behind me. When one of the officers stopped at the gate and wanted to see if the security camera would give them the tag of that vehicle coming in. All they had was a car description. It turned out that the camera that takes the incoming photographs is set so that it doesn't take the tag picture, it photographs the side of the car. Well, I casually mentioned this at the RAC meeting to John Tesham, who's on the Traffic Control Committee, last week, and he told me that a few days ago, he was in the guardhouse, sat for a few hours with the guards, observing the traffic coming in and out and the different security cameras. And he noted that that camera was not set properly and wasn't taking tag photographs. So he went out and set it, and went back inside, everything was fine, and a little while later he left. It appears that someone is deliberately moving that camera so that it's not actually taking tags photographs, just taking photographs of the side of the cars, which isn't much help. In addition to that, which I wanted to bring to Rick's attention, there are people that are coming to the gate because the guards are somewhat familiar with them, and one of them comes to my house, and the guards are not photographing the license, and they're offering them 30-day, whatever you call it, you put
The vendor pass.
which is not warranted. And another resident said to me that they had a visitor that arrived in town, and the visitor wanted to come visit them here in Cypresswood. But they didn't know an address, and they couldn't remember the name of their friend. So they described what, blah, 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 blah. And the guard gives them the resident's name and address. Did not take a photograph of their license, and offered them a 30-day pass. They're only going to be in town for a week. There seems to be at that gate some serious lapses of following the procedures that are in place. And it certainly shouldn't have been that we got cops spread all over Cypresswood hunting somebody and couldn't get a tag number off that camera coming in. That's not right.
I would, and Rick has said this before, so I feel pretty confident in relaying on part of that, is when you have one of those incidents, send him or send me an email or whatever, just with the time so that we can address it with the particular employee. I'm not sure about the camera. I can't speak to that. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I thought we only had tag readers going out, but I guess we have going into.
That's what I thought.
I thought it was only going out, but again, we'll.
I thought it was.
I'll send.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with Rick and relay your thoughts.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
On the gate where you've got the two entrances, you come in, one's for people that don't live here and the other one's for people who do.
Not really. One of them is a resident controlled gate, the other one is controlled by the traffic control officer. It's not just for, you can be a resident and go through the other lane.
That's what I'm getting to in a minute is to the fact that, when you pull up there where you got a clicker to do it, if someone's ahead of you, someone goes through, a lot of times the guard doesn't want to close that thing. He kind of holds it a minute, then when you start to pull up there, the arm starts to go down. So why can't we have it? I thought if you got a clicker or something, you should be able to go there. They spent the extra money to put the control in there so they don't tailgate each other in there. Is there a way that, that automatically that the guard doesn't do anything with that? Once the car goes through and the next car comes up and he's got a clicker, and if you don't have a clicker, maybe you need to go to the other gate.
Yes, Joe.
As working there, it is a tough situation. You cannot believe the pressure that is put on that arm, especially when cars are tailgating. And I know Rick tried to put a sign up there to tell people not to tailgate, but that's like telling people to stop at a four-way sign when they don't see anybody coming. And so some of the guys that work there, try to eliminate the pressure on that arm. It actually, the nut, or the bolt, I should say, not nut, broke here a couple weeks ago. Because of that, it shakes so hard. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I asked Rick 4 months ago, to put in a speed bump, because there's no way to slow those people down when they come over the top of that hill, especially if they know they don't have to hit the button on the transmitter. He was going to look into it. Next thing I know, they tried to time it so it would come down quicker, but you need something to slow them down so they don't go through one after another. And it's been something that's been tabled, and those guys are put in a really tough position. I don't work there right now, I'm on disability, but I promise you, certain times of the day, that arm goes up and down so many times that they try not to put all the pressure on it. It's a very, very heavy gate, and I guess it was requested by Rick because he wanted, to make it where if someone did hit it, it would do, some damage. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but they didn't want a breakaway arm. And, unfortunately, Jeff's not here, and I don't know if he didn't know Rick was going to be here. Jeff is the one who runs the guard check, but he could explain it a lot better. Any president, anybody that sits and to sit down there and watch what they go through sometimes, because it is a tough situation. And then you got people who are in a hurry when they come in and they don't want to go through the process of waiting on the other side. So and I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I got one that lives around the corner from me. He'll go over in the other lane and he'll tailgate through there. The sign says no tailgating, but it really is kind of sad that, the sign's even there because no one really pays attention.
But that's what they put that loop in there for.
But it still don't help. I promise.
Well, it helps a little. It slows it down a little bit because they have to get closer to the gate. Because before that, they were
but
at the
top.
top.
But if a car is behind it,
right? They could as long as they're in the loop when pressing their button, it's going to stay up.
Yeah, the loop doesn't really help a lot. I'm telling you.
I mean, the solution to that is the Traffic Control Committee has been saying for 10 years. Is to modernize the gate mechanism so that it's either barcoded or one of those things. So that's 25 grand is what I've been told. So that's the administration of that gate when that thing's doing this all the time. It was when we had the old fiberglass arms, they were going through 3 or 4 a month.
But one of the questions that Bill, you're on the road committee and that, I know you're going to pave the common road, what have you. I don't know what the cost would be for a speed bump there. I know there's been some issues with people who don't like speed bumps, but really the sad part of it is it's more speeding going through there than there is, the gate itself and whatever. And I know people are in a hurry to get home and that, but there's no reason in a 20 or 15 mile zone that people are zipping through there. And that's where the guys get really scared with the gate. They really do. I mean, because they're afraid it's going to go down on somebody. And again, the only thing I can tell you is to go up there and witness it for an hour, especially during the busy times.
Has there been a lot of cars where that arm has hit their car or something?
It hasn't recently.
Not recently.
But, like I said, it's like anything. People have a way to beat the system, and they know when they're, and I guess I think the confusion with it is that some people will stop for it to go down and then lift it up. And then you got the other ones that'll speed up to get behind the car. And it does happen more than you would expect.
It happens routinely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where the pressure on that arm really, does it.
The speed bump question. Mr. Shea.
Actually, no. There was a time when I chaired traffic control, and that was a point in time when we did some traffic studies. And here's the situation, because we were trying to do things to improve that gate. This is back in 2010, 11, and 12. At that time, we had between 2,500 and 3,000 cars a day come through that area. The gate people that we work with came out and they said, you can't have anything but what you got. And what we've got is really for a parking lot. It's not really any kind of a security gate or one of those real nice, slow ones. We'd never get home. We'd be out on the highway all the time. So that adds to what the whole problem is, and that is that we have to use that type of gate system. The only thing you can really do to get them under control is put 2 gates on the gate lane. And let that be the way to control the people so they don't stack up on each other and run through there.
That's how it is. I just was at Deerwood in Jacksonville where my aunt lives, and they have a barcode, but it's probably 30 feet. It's probably about 30 feet distance between the 2 arms. Right. And it does a double scan, and it
my home in North Carolina
and keeps track of that.
My home in North Carolina was that way, and they were slow gates, and it had a similar number of homes as we do here, but they didn't come and go like we do here. We have so much traffic here, so that really contributes to all the problem. And doing a speed bump and not a hump, because we've got a hump there, that slows them down. But doing a speed bump, that is not an expensive item to do. Even a speed hump is $1,200. It's not a big deal when you think about what it is and what it does. And we'd be more than happy to build it if that's what the Traffic Control Committee wants done in there. But that needs to be vetted in front of this board before we approve something like that.
Yeah, you really need to think about that because there's going to be some residents going.
It's not a fun thing when you
getting a little excited, but if you're gonna do that, it would have to be across the whole thing, or otherwise you would not be able to do a half, because then everybody would be coming through the side without it. Yes, Mr. Tucker?
And can you imagine the amount of traffic on a single gate when the one is broken because some, I don't want to use the word idiot, somebody runs into it.
Yeah.
So then you got the barricade there, and you got one gate for everybody. What a pain that would be. I mean, until it's repaired, and that takes some time.
Yeah, again, I think if you have an incident at the gate where somebody, one of your guests or vendors or friends doesn't get their license photograph, we need to report a time. It's 11:05 on Friday, so that way we can go to the guy who worked at 11:05 and say, okay, there's your warning, and then if he does it again, we get somebody else. I mean, it's really pretty. That's his responsibility. Do your responsible. You find something else to do. So please just tell if they get that mic, just tell them to email me and I'll relay it to Rick, and we'll figure out who the person, because it's probably the same one or two people that are black. Because I know that I was behind, and Jeff had it. He did 6 in front of me because I just wanted to talk to Jeff for a second, just to say hello. Anyway. Okay, let's next slide, please. Okay, this is the traffic control budget proposal for 2022. There is a 98-cent reduction in the overall budget request, so it's basically flat. The total for 2022 is $141,779.12. There is going to be a minimum. The only real change, and we've leveled it off in other areas, is that the rate for the traffic control officers went from $10.75 to $11, because there is going to be an increase in the minimum wage that we have to account for. It's going to happen in October, then again in the next October. So we made the decision to go to that level on January 1st. It is something we can't avoid. Are there any questions? Yes.
The workman's comp is reduced for 2022.
Right.
Was that just to try and make it come out with no increase, or is it a real reason we can expect that to be lower?
Well, it was a better quote, and apparently it was the camp told us we overstated it for 2021 in that budget. It won't be that much, so there'll be some savings there that will wash. So we're able to reduce. Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to provisionally accept this budget by someone. Mr. McCullough, seconded by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next slide, please, Savannah. Road drainage, Mr. Shira, come on down. Still.
Don't fall.
See that? That was pretty good.
Yes.
Let's see. First, let's talk about roads. We have an approved contract with a vendor to resurface the entryway up through the 4-way stop and also Clubhouse Drive over to the parking lot. We're not redoing the parking lot here. And at the same time, we have 2 associations that connect to those areas that are going to be paved. First of which is Villas on the Green, which is everything over here. And the other is Garden Patio. Birchdale and Glen Eagles come out onto the boulevard. It's nice that all that paving is going to be done at one time. It'll be a nice clean surface. It won't look like checkerboarded roads. And I'm glad that we're getting to do it that way. We had since the last meeting, we came to the members of the board with a vote to allow us, for the part that's the responsibility of the community association, allow us to include Clubhouse Road. The reason that we came to you for that was, and it was triggered by the fact that we had so much paving to do we got a better rate than we anticipated. So our total cost went down. It meant that we could, with this additional $10,000 that was approved, that means that we could have gotten Clubhouse Road done over to here, which should have been done at the same time, and due to budget constraints, we had proposed to hold it off, but the numbers came in so good it made the most sense to do that. I will tell you, as logistically, as a road dude, I'm glad to see all those surfaces meet up and be brand new surfaces. They'll last longer and they look better. It makes everybody feel good. I'll tell you, as a marketing guy, people coming to Cypresswood to come to the clubhouse are going to see nothing but brand new roads. That's pretty nice. So that project will take almost a month. The roads will be milled. It'll be dirty and crappy, and we'll have residents that won't like that, but that's the right thing to do. We're going to mill up the paving and relay new paving. We're working also with the Enclave on this, and the Enclave stands on its own, further back up Cypresswood Boulevard. The Enclave is also going to be done at this time. So first thing I want to say is thank you to the associations that got to participate, that we all got to benefit from that because it made it cost us less with regard to what we're doing. Next month, I'll be presenting, either I or Mark will be presenting the budget for the roads. Last year, we increased the amount we accumulate, the rate that we charge ourselves each year to go into reserves. We increased that. We almost doubled it last year because the cost of resurfacing doubled. It caught us with our reserves kind of low. But by doing that, last year I worked out a schedule whereby we're going to get these roads done and be able to do it at the rate that we were doing it during this year that we're paying into, not the new budget year, but 2021 dues. So fear not about your road budget. It's in good hands and good shape, and be proud that we're a community that has good streets. I get comments from people who are in homeowners associations in other areas, and there are a lot of newer ones that are approaching that 15 and 20 year mark, and boy, that's where you see the roads really fall apart. And you can see it in a lot of real nice associations in the Winter Haven area that their road, they're not paying the attention they need to, and the boards that we've had in place over the past 20 years have done a good job of paying attention to that. Are there any questions about roads? Great. Let's talk about drainage. The drainage budget shows overage right now, but that's because we have had some partial payments with regard to the installation of the new pumps that are over on the east side of the community. Those pumps service the east side of Cypresswood Boulevard, and some other water comes in that way, and that's how it gets taken out of our community and put into the Peace Creek Drainage Canal. If you haven't had a chance to see them, anybody that plays golf has seen them. It's interrupted golf a little bit. They're beautiful, if pumps can be beautiful. They're going to be super efficient. We've got redundancy built in. We built a road out to them. It's really a road base. You'll not see it because it crosses the golf course, but it comes off the end of Greenfield Court. That'll allow us to get heavy equipment out there at times when the ground is waterlogged, which is generally the times you're looking to go do any kind of maintenance project. And it will allow us, if we run into a power outage, we can take a generator back there. It takes a 450 kilowatt generator to drive that, and those are generally readily available. Am I right on that, Mark?
Yeah, available.
So the pumps will be in service soon. We're waiting on Duke Power right now to move the transformers.
Go ahead.
Got it. And then after they've done that, we'll come in and do the finished concrete work, which will tie the two pads. To those of you who've seen it, you see two pumps up there,
You see there's 2 concrete pads up there that are about 10 by 10. And they'll all be locked in with one top deck up there. And also there'll be a way that the generator, when needed, could be there. That's a project that Mark's worked on forever. And it's nice to finally get it there. We don't have our final numbers yet. We hope we don't have any surprises. But if we do, we didn't have any choice. Again, I can't tell you that we're not gonna, or that we are, I don't know. So that's the status of things in drainage. We do have some small drainage repairs that we're going to be addressing. The drainage budget is pretty well shot by the by having this pump project done. We're probably, I don't recall the numbers right now, it's probably $90,000 or $100,000 that we do not have accumulated in the pump reserve. And that was approved by the board that we would use general reserves to do that. We have general reserves available to do that, and it's not going to damage us. And so that's the status of everything on that. Are there any questions on drainage? There certainly haven't been any drainage problems because there hasn't been any water. Jason?
Do you have an idea when they're going to actually come out and shoot that one pipe to see if that pipe's collapsing?
I don't know which
By
one?
his house there.
My house.
Oh, the one by his?
Yeah.
The one's going from Wexford to the...
Yeah, we're getting close to that now. I'd say within a month it's gonna be.
Okay.
Video.
What was the question?
Between the houses where this gentleman lives, there's some depressions in the yard. And so what we're gonna do is run the camera there to see exactly what it is. It's not a major issue, but we need to make sure we look at the condition of that pipe.
We have one other leaking band, which is what that is. It's where the seam is on the pipes. We have another situation of that, which a quote's being prepared on now, runs along number 10 hole, and there's one definite sink in there and one subject spot. So, you know, we try to get those all kind of together and do them at one time because, you know, when you bring the contractor out right away, you're spending money just to get them there.
We got one on Plantation Way on the south side, just before you get to Beauchamp. It's a depression about that big between the man's fence.
How long's that been there?
Yeah, we need to look at it then.
Yeah, we need to see that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Just for the newer members of the board, historically, when we started doing the drainage, one of our primary objectives is we looked at all of the oldest pipes. And of course, a lot of the oldest pipes are in the area like Greenfield Village and Villas on the Green and those areas. Everything on the other side of the canal down here is all a much later construction. So consequently, all of those are not the old corrugated metal pipes. And we started going through the entire community trying to identify the most significant corrugated metal pipes that had to be replaced. And those are the ones that obviously, as you get closer to the point of discharge, smaller pipes accumulate into larger pipes, and those larger pipes, we've spent probably the first 15 years replacing as many of those with concrete pipe or some alternative to corrugated metal pipe as we could. And we've done that in many areas, up on Canberra and St. Andrews and all over the place up there. But we still have a number of corrugated metal pipes within the community, and they eventually will have to be replaced. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. I mean, the corrugated metal pipes are coated with a bitumastic material, but even so, some of the soil out here is kind of aggressive, and that coating breaks down, and then the bottom half of the pipe that gets wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry, that's the portion that corrodes. You can see the top half of the pipe looks nice, the bottom half of the pipe looks like Swiss cheese. So we're still going through that process. By Jason's house here, the one that runs adjacent to his, we don't think is that severe. We think the pipe is in relatively good shape, but what we think is occasionally we get these bands where the corrugated metal pipes were all done in 20-foot sections. And so every 20 feet, there's a band that goes around them and a gasket that goes around it and a band that goes around it. And the bolts corrode and break and the band separates a little bit. And that's what we think is occurring there. That's what we think is occurring where Bill is talking about. And probably from what Rick described, it sounds like a similar situation.
If any of you see a depression just appear, in your yard or along the roadway, I mean, get a hold of either Mark or I. I mean, we'll get it investigated. We know how we can pretty well figure out from the top. We've got the plans. Paul Nelson, the original thing, we got started on this in 1992. We took the master plan of the community, and we have documented on that every single change we've made. Those plans sit there and say it's corrugated metal pipe. When we replace it, we would rather use something like Hardy pipe or some of the new corrugated plastic pipes, and we've documented all the plans to show that. I think at one time I calculated we've gotten somewhere between 4 and 5 miles worth of pipe replaced. We got about 2 miles to go. It cost us about $1 million to get that first part replaced. But I mean, we're well into that project, but we've been diverted onto other things. Our money's been diverted other directions, and Mark and I are anxious to get back to that and get this finished so that we can consider the pipes as being installed with a life expectancy of unknown, which is better than corrugated, which is 25 to 30 years. So that's been a project we've worked on for far too long.
And just as a note item, that corrugated metal was used everywhere. It's not exclusive to Cypresswood.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a subdivision of this age that does not have it in it.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Next slide, please. Amenities Committee, Dr. Palmer. Next slide. Yes. Yes. Next slide.
Next slide. First, let me say that we have some new shades on the patio that is really going to help with our late afternoon sun. Thank you, Bill Shara. We also have some new lights on the patio. Thank you, Bill Shara. We are busy. We are slowly but surely beginning to get events again. So we're crawling out from under the COVID cloud. It has not caught up near to where we were, but we are beginning to come out. The amenities assessment for this year was $502,000. So far out of that, the board.
Yeah, go back there.
Oh, go back here. Okay. Yeah. This is a financial snapshot from January 1st of this year to June 15th, and this is often what people want to know. This is an overall number, so it's not broken down between things like the pub versus the golf course versus the wellness center. It is a summary number. Our revenue for these dates, which is almost the first half of the year, is $742,590. That compared to 2020 of $500,000. Now we have to remember that we pretty much shut down right around March 15th in 2020. On the other hand, we also need to remember that we bring in the most money the first 100 days of the year, basically January 1st to Easter. So this is when we should have the most money coming in. Do not expect that revenue number simply to be doubled for the second half of the year because it's the second half of the year. It doesn't work that way. Our season is the first 100 days. Even though we had COVID, and now we're coming out, we had COVID the beginning of this year as well. We had hardly any Canadians. We had a greatly reduced number of snowbirds. So that revenue number is telling us that the investments we've made in the golf course, in the clubhouse, in the irrigation system on the greens are starting to pay off. That's what that number means at this point. The expenses are also up. We have been open more. 2020 again, we closed March 15th. This number for 2021 goes through January to the middle of June. So that number should be bigger than last year. Our net is significantly bigger. Again, do not expect to double that for the second half of the year. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Do you have any questions over this?
And this will all be, the whole presentation will be emailed tomorrow to everybody and posted online.
Okay. Next slide.
Next slide, please, Savannah.
All right, the amenities assessment for this year was $502,000. Of that, through the September meeting, we had spent $324,000, and the unallocated is 101 left. 181. The June request is all for agronomics, and it's $40,000. And again, that's not new money. That's part of what was already budgeted. It's part of the amenities committee budget for 2021.
And repair and maintenance of maintenance equipment.
And repair and maintenance out on buildings and golf course. Any questions about that? Okay.
We need a motion to accept the amenities committee's operational support request of $40,000. Mr. Brett has made such a request. Do we have a second? Mr. Klutner has made a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next slide, please, Savannah. All right, new business. Garden patio, Mr. Don Daniels. Welcome. I know this is one of your first of several meetings you'll be attending as vice president of that HOA. So welcome. You have a.
Thank you.
Sure.
A few days. Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know. For those of you who are not familiar, all the streets in Garden Patio are dead end, and all the streets in Garden Patio have a grassy island in them. A few days ago, we had a youngster on a golf cart, preteen, maybe 11 years old, come down our street, turn across the island, over a berm, out on the other side of the island, and make a sharp right turn. Had two children, probably 7, 8 years old, on the back, and we were standing in our yard. They almost fell off. We have incidents a lot there. In some cases, we've had the reflector posts on the golf cart pass-throughs between the streets damaged and knocked down by golf carts. I wanted to make a suggestion, primarily I guess to the traffic committee, but their chairman is not here, I'll make it to you all, about suggesting that we start registering all privately owned golf carts and have every privately owned golf cart bear a decal large enough to recognize from a reasonable distance. We don't know who that golf cart belonged to in that incident, and it happens not frequently, but it happens often enough for us to be concerned about it. It seems to me that there should be a way for us to identify golf carts for a lot of reasons, and if we set up a registration program for golf carts and put a minor charge to it, you'd have a very tiny revenue stream out of it. But the big issue, I think, is safety. A lot of kids get on golf carts and they go joyriding in here, and I can understand that. I really can. But some of them are reckless, and there are some incidents that I think that where we should be able to identify a golf cart. And as I understand it now, we cannot identify a golf cart. Thank you.
I thought there was a cart registration.
There is, but it's the complication with that is that it's done voluntarily, and there's no enforcement behind it because it has to be enforced from the neighborhood HOAs, because there's no authority from the Master Association on the individual residents of Cypresswood. So the complication is, Mr. Daniels, with that your HOA would have to have a finding committee, and my understanding is it would have to be one of your residents that you would find. So if I was driving recklessly in your neighborhood, you really can't do anything except call the police. Which is what the Traffic Control Committee has suggested, that anytime there's any reckless behavior, have your residents call the police and have them come out and file the report and deal with the situation, if possible. I understand that that's because they're gone in 15 seconds. I get it. But that's kind of a problem we've had. We do have a registrar. Matter of fact, I got somebody's insurance on Sunday for somebody who just got a card. So some people do volunteer to do it, but it is a voluntary thing. Yes, Mr. Klunar.
Can't we, as the various associations, give the Master Association the authority over privately owned carts?
I believe our attorney said no several years ago, but I can ask him again. I will do that.
Okay.
Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, if someone does get hurt, like that gentleman just mentioned, who's responsible for?
Everybody.
And I guess that's my question. Bill, I didn't tell you about this, it was a week ago. We have residents that live on Greenfield, and they're renting, and my wife called me out to see this. We had a golf cart, and I had a probably 15, 20 foot cord or rope pulling his friend, brother, in a chair around the golf course, or around our subdivision. I asked him, I said, excuse me, where do you live? You know, because I couldn't tell, I didn't recognize him where. He said, I live around the corner. I said, that doesn't happen. He goes, well, he's my mother, don't care. I mean, seriously, I know it's just like registration on our cars that live here. We can't enforce people who have stickers. You know, something we talked about that would speed up people coming in, you know, not have to worry about letting people in that aren't supposed to. I don't understand why, as a community, we can't enforce this. I mean, we pay dues.
It's really very, very simple. The Cypresswood Community Association is an association of associations and does not have any human members. So the enforcement has to come from each individual neighborhood. It's been explained that way 5,000 times, and there is no enforcement from that.
If they get hurt.
I get that it's complex. I get it. I'm just saying, but I will ask again and have Chris clarify his opinion, or write it, and we'll send it out to everybody so everybody can see it. That's really all we can do. Yes, sir, Mr. Tucker.
Do you not have to have a permit to drive your personal cart on the golf course?
No, you have to have proof of liability insurance to take it on the golf.
That's the ticket.
Right.
The sticker, where do you display it?
There is no sticker.
Yeah, there is. I have one. I just got one. A new one. You're the only
Not for me.
Yeah.
No, I haven't bought them since 20.
Years ago.
Yeah. That's been.
Well, I'm a years ago guy.
You are. You're living in the 1980s. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business? Or any other comments on that subject?
Let's go back to that for a second.
Okay.
If the boards of the individual HOAs approve a resolution, you have to be reviewed by an attorney, I understand it. But if those individual boards gave the Master Association the authority to require that registration in some type of tag, is that a possibility?
Again, we consult legal. My first thing is that just like we've struggled with, and Oak Grove has done it to a certain extent. There's only, and Fairway Patio is the only one of the 14 that's actually has a finding board. What is the consequence if they don't?
Well,
if you don't have consequences for it, they're not there. It's voluntary.
Well, yeah, because I think in the rules when I moved out here 4 years ago, if you were gonna have a golf cart, it couldn't be gas powered. If I'm not mistaken. And there's a few gas powered golf carts.
Right.
It has. Pretty sure. Again, I read that you couldn't have a gas golf cart somewhere. Some one bylaw.
That was on the golf course. I don't remember seeing that on the community side. It was on the golf course at one time, and that's been lifted. Yes, Mark. Sorry, Dave. I'll continue in a second.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is I think we need to broaden the definition to not just golf carts per se.
Absolutely. If you're going to go there, you have to do all of those ATVs and.
Yeah, you got to do the ATVs and the Polaruses and
Yeah. But again, Mike, you know as well as I do, if there's no hammer, it becomes a voluntary thing for the and the people who are not violating the rules are the ones who are going to comply, and the ones who are violating aren't going to comply anyway. So we have to let's get legal involved. Let him earn his money and let him come up with an opinion that makes legal sense. Yes, sir. Yes, I'm Dave. Sorry, Dave was first.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I heard what Mike said, and I agree with that. There must be something that we can do as the individual HOAs.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. You can set up a fining board and you can put fines in there for your residents, but you can't fine a Greenfield Road resident.
Yeah, because I heard earlier that...
That's my understanding anyway.
Yeah, I
could be
heard
wrong.
Earlier that from the gentleman here that somebody was pulling a kid in a chair or something.
Yeah, no, it's...
And then it said
it's
something happens
behavior.
to it. Whose fault it is? It's all of our fault. Well, that could be a big thing. What if somebody got killed? What if some kid got killed?
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. So I think we better think of this as a Cypresswood.
And I will email our lawyer and we'll let him give us an opinion on that. Sure. Who's Don? Go ahead. You brought it up. You can speak.
Is it reasonable for the golf course to require all privately owned golf carts to have a registration to get on the golf course? That way you could force the registration if that golf cart's going to be used on the course.
Except that it's probably about 20% of the carts in Cypresswood.
Yeah, that's not the problem.
It's not them on the golf course, it's them zooming around. There's only 20% of the residents who have carts use them on the golf cart.
They use them for other reasons.
Sure, but just basically, Martha.
What's the legal age for operating a golf cart?
14 years old by the state of Florida. You don't even have to have a driver's license, which means you don't have to be insured, technically.
But that means the 8-year-old is out.
That might be different when you move to the more modern cart that has a speed in
there is a speed thing there. That's
25 miles an hour, and those also have lights and turn signals. At that point, it's not just a golf cart, and I'm not sure that the 14-year-old thing would apply. That may require a driver's license because that's now becoming actually.
I believe it requires safety devices on the golf cart, like seat belts and turn signals and that sort of thing. However, that is not going to be. That's going to be enforced by a law enforcement officer. It's not a community association issue. We're not going to fine Mark Klunar because he didn't wear a seatbelt in a golf cart. That's not going to happen ever. Rick.
Like they said, the kid was about 10 years old, and that's what I'm seeing is most of the reckless, other than one or two, most of the reckless drivers on the golf carts are underage drivers. The parents need to take responsibility for their children.
You think?
You would think.
You would think that, right? You would think that.
His mother don't care.
Get out of the house. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the tricky part.
Why don't we agree that the board and any of us that are interested email you questions for the attorney to address
absolutely
in person, and because the first thing that has to happen is you have to be able to identify that golf court if you call for enforcement. And we don't, there's no means because there's no ID on there. You can't give a cop.
Actually, Mike, that's not correct. You have to be able to identify the person in the cart because they can. If you're not saying if it's Martha's cart, Martha's not in it because we went through that with a different situation and they did not hold that. They held the owner of the cart responsible, not the person in the cart was not the owner because they drove off. So you have to be able to identify that it's Martha in the cart and not Scott.
Well, you can at least find the cart first.
Responsible for their minors.
Absolutely, they are. But there's the word legally responsible, which means a deputy has to come out and enforce it, not Bill Shire, head of fines and enforcement.
We can't even find the cart.
That's what I mean.
Exactly. No, and again, it's very complex. It is. It's not.
With your phone.
Ooh,
you got it.
Yeah, there you go. Take a picture of them, and then. That's anything else. I will ask the attorney for his opinion. If you do have any questions or specific things you want addressed, please send it to me, and I will relay that to him and see what he comes back with. Hopefully in less than 10 pages, right, Savannah? Any other things? Any other new business? Yes, sir.
On June 1st, we had a pretty significant accident here at Clubhouse and Greenfield.
Right.
Once again, it was somebody ran the stop sign.
Of course.
And it just, you sit off on the side on any of these 4-way or 3-way stops.
It's scary, startling how fast people go.
We have a problem in Plantations where they come down Plantation Way and don't realize that that little stub end that goes into the golf course is a dead end, and they end up halfway down it where Al Cassidy's little girl's playing. They go around on 2-wheelers.
What was the accident at the 4-way?
It was a T-bone.
Yeah, it was a T-bone. Somebody blew the stop sign.
Someone coming south on the boulevard T-bone, someone coming out of Clubhouse, or what was?
Yes. No,
I was there, Rick was there.
I was there.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. He was going south or he was going north?
Going out.
Going out. So he was heading north.
He was heading north.
Coming down, it blew the stop sign and T-boned the person.
That's the 5th accident in the 5 years that the Roberts have lived there on the corner.
Right.
They said that's the 5th accident that's happened there since they lived there.
Yeah,
Why don't we put speed bumps there?
we did, and this board elected to take them out because of pressure.
Nice.
But you know, the other thing, and that's one of the reasons with the traffic committee, Rick, I wanted to talk about it. We spend $8,000 a year bringing in sheriffs in here, okay? They come in every Friday night, and they sit at the 4 corners for 4 hours with the lights on. I mean, if I'm gonna spend $8,000, I want the bang for my money. And they need to be in here all times of the day and different days. You know, you're not gonna stop speeding if you don't have some kind of enforcement.
And in the past, Joe, we have had traffic details that have focused on like cart, just like what we're talking about. But again, you can go out here and drive around on a Sunday afternoon and never see a soul out in the streets at certain times.
I'm not arguing, but I live on that 4-way corner. Every Friday night, I sit out in my back porch and there's a sheriff's car. You know, we need to
That's a good, bring that up. I'm sure that can be addressed in the next committee meeting. I'm sure they can. Anything else?
I'll make a motion.
To do what?
To leave.
To leave, to adjourn? You second that, Mark? We are adjourned. See you next month, everybody.
I wonder how you